Hi, this is Tessa with Hip Over 50. Today I'm going to continue in my series of things that I love about the British lifestyle that I think you'll enjoy too if you come over. So, the holder of the land speed record in the world is a British Royal Air Force pilot named Andy Green. The record was set back in 1997 and it still holds. Yes, he did it in the US, but still. He was also the first to break the speed of sound at a whopping 760 miles per hour. Wow. That, that is fast for a plane, let alone a car. From the Pendine Sands in Wales to Daytona and the salt flats of Utah, Brits have been setting speed records since the turn of the last century. But when did the Britons' love affair with speed begin? Well, it's not surprising that a pilot broke the land speed record. There's definitely a connection between flying and driving. They both involve speed, sometimes leaving the ground and sometimes not, but it's probably because aviation and racing took off about the same time. And some of the most iconic cars that have been used for racing or just on the road were made here in the UK, from Land Rover, Jaguar, Rolls-Royce, Mini, Aston Martin, and Bentley. They were all designed and manufactured here. The first Rolls put out a whopping 10 horsepower when it was built in circa 1904, and legendary cars have been rolling off the assembly lines ever since. Uh, the Aston Martin A3 rolled out over 100 years ago. In 1923, it lapped the Brooklyn circuit at 84 miles per hour. And of course, the Aston DB5 is probably one of the most iconic Bond cars of all times, won't you agree? First Land Rover was built in circa 1948 and at the time cost £450. What a bargain, because today, if you could even find one in any condition, it would probably be worth a cool £250,000. And who can forget that petite icon of the 60s, the mini car? Everyone from Steve McQueen to Mick Jagger had to have one, myself included. But it's what these cars can do that make them so special, and we do love to race them. The oldest racing circuit in the world is Brooklands, and it was built here in 1907 by a wealthy landowner. In 1926, it was home to Britain's first Grand Prix. Brooklands also had a reputation for making aviation history. There's that connection again. It was here in early British aircraft like the Sopwith Camel and the Hawker Hurricane took off for flight for the first time. Unfortunately, that's kind of the reason why Brooklands closed in 1939. They needed those airstrips for the war effort, or those tracks for the war effort. So if you're looking for some modern day racing, though, you are spoiled for choice. First up, there's Silverstone, which is the longest track in the country, and it's been home to 50 Grand Prix races. We just had the Formula One racing here this summer. Then there's Brands Hatch, which I even remember hearing about when I was a kid. It's where racing legends like Sterling Moss lap the tracks. And there's Thruxton Circuit, UK's fastest circuit, another wartime airfield, and Donington Park, which opened in 1931 and is home to the British Touring Car Championship. And then the UK has somehow produced 10 world champion Formula One race car drivers. How about that? More than any other nation. Of course, Britain's Lewis Hamilton holds the record for most wins in Formula One racing with 103 victories and counting. So if you are into any kind of motorsports, you will be very happy here. There are over 5,000 events per year, both at the local and club level, in addition to the F1 Race Championship and the World Rally Championship. You'll find circuit racing, drag racing, hill climbs, kart races, you name it. Drag racing took off here after it debuted in the US because they used old airstrips and converted them to drag strips. Innovation, right? And rallying is another huge motorsport here in the UK. The RAC Rally began in 1932 and is now known as Rally GB. I think that's where I first got my love of speed. I remember my dad taking us to hill climbs in Canada. The British Touring Car Championship, the country's most popular national series, is where Fords, Hondas, and Toyotas all vie for best of class at speeds of up to 155 miles per hour. So a little bit like the US's NASCAR. Then there's the famous or infamous Isle of Man TT race, a famous motorcycle racing event that also started and debuted in 1907 and is still running today. Despite its deadly reputation, it's extremely popular. So the thing that caught my eye was the Goodwood Motor Circuit, and it's in a class of its own. Back in 1948, just after the war, Goodwood opened to become the first post-war racing venue. It was part of the Goodwood estate that's been owned by the Dukes of Richmond for over 300 years. They had built an airfield on the estate to help with the war effort, and then after the war ended, that was converted to a racing track. And of course, because Brooklands had closed in 39 and now it's 1948, the British public hadn't had any outlet for their racing, love since before the war. So it was immensely popular. So that was the start of the post-war professional racing circuit at Goodwood. Unfortunately, it closed in 1966, but 50 years after it opened in 1998, it was once again home to the very first Goodwood revival, and they had restored the track perfectly to look just like it had in 1948. So there's several events that happen at Goodwood throughout the year, but the two that I want to talk to you about today are the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's an event that takes place over 4 days where the world's most rare and glamorous cars race. That sounds right up my street. And then there's something called the Goodwood Revival, which is like dipping back to 1948. Everybody gets dressed up in their poshest vintage frocks and stylish fedoras and enjoys 3 days of racing with vintage cars from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So that sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? And if you still got an itch for motoring and you can't quite get to a race, well, we've got some world-class motor museums. I happen to live close to the Haynes Motor Museum, which is fabulous. They've got a whole room full of minis, for example. They've got American cars, they've got British cars. It's the UK's largest collection of cars and bikes from all eras and countries. You've also got the British Motor Museum and the National Motor Museum with its World of Top Gear. So there you go. If you are a fan, come on over and enjoy what Britain has to offer for motorsports events. I mean, anyone who has even a little petrol in their blood will get a kick out of the car culture here and the traditions. So there you go. Any comments, put them below. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.